our listeners and viewers across the world. This is one of those interactions where you get to hear from the house's mouth, like we say in Liberia. And so we'll be interacting with the Deputy Speaker, his plans for the legislature as well as his workings from the district level and what has transpired during the course of the elections in 2023. Those are all things we'll be looking at this morning. My name is Fidel City and I represent the ABC Radio.
Good morning, fellow Liberians. It's always a very good thing to form a part of such important events where we're here to have a special interview with the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. My name is Bezemi Sumo, I represent the Prime Secretary, and it's a pleasure to be a part of this party.
Good morning, Liberians. My name is Tajos Emmanuel Desset, and I'm representing Georgia.
Good morning, folks in Radio Land. My name is Jerome Conway, the Liberian journal who is representing Good Morning TV in this special interview. I'm in an illustration environment though this morning. This is usual, faces are usual for different purposes. So we are here to take all the tasks and we are being happy. Thank you so much.
And thanks to all of you, more than just the radio stations that were earlier named, we'll be screening live on some online TV, KMTV, Vision TV, Front Page Africa, Golden TV, Freedom TV, Spoon TV, and Joy TV Liberia. So we'll now turn over to the Chief of Staff of the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Mr. Koffa, to introduce the Deputy Speaker.
Okay, I want to say good morning to our media institutions. I want to say good morning to other media institutions who have come to witness this great event, and members of our staff in the office of the Deputy Speaker, also members of the Deputy Speaker Black who have come to also grace this occasion. I want to say you are welcome. At this time we will turn over the microphone to the panelists. The lead station here is Voice of Liberia that is heading this interview. To begin with the interview, I cannot see the voice of Liberia. Okay, Myers, thank you.
Well, thanks so kindly. We'll just now go to the Deputy Speaker to say good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
You look upbeat.
Had a good Christmas. Good morning to everyone, especially good morning to my colleagues who decided to come here this morning, incoming members of the 55th, to support us and witness this event. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. What are your general observations of the season celebration when compared to previous years, to begin with?
I think it may have been a little muffled. I think there were some challenges in civil servants' pay. I think that process began a little late. But you know, everything is topsy-turvy this year because there was an election season. We are in transition. And so we had a Christmas in transition, let me put it that way.
Okay, thank you. Let's get to business. Well, the elections are over.
Sure.
Results are announced and inauguration is being planned. And hopefully on the 22nd of January, we will be inducting a new president.
Sure.
With the anticipation that we will triumph as a nation and ensure that we conquer all of the obstacles that once confronted us as a nation and people.
Sure.
At this critical juncture, the legislature is a crucial component of our democracy because in the order of importance, the framers of the laws listed the legislature first, which shows that it is the bedrock of our democracy.
Sure.
The executive and judicial branches of government are implementing arms, whereas the legislature is the one that makes most, if not all, of the decisions that revolve around the country's development. And so it is important for us to throw particular emphasis on the legislature. That's why we thought that you are one of stakeholders of this legislature that we should talk to. So looking at the legislature as a whole, it is our understanding that you may be contesting for the speakership, which we will talk about later.
Okay.
But we want to know, who is this man desirous of becoming Speaker of the House of Representatives?
I generally don't like to toot my own horn. I am a man, a human, just as flawed as any other, maybe even more so. But I have come this way and I've taken this journey into political life in Liberia, both from the executive. I started off as Minister of State with our portfolio. If you remember, and sometimes our memories are short in Liberia, I was the head of the Presidential Task Force that prosecuted the civil mining case. I moved on to the legislature in 2017, 2018, where I served first as chair on Judiciary and then next as Deputy Speaker. I bring a wealth of experience, I bring a wealth of knowledge, I bring a wealth of contacts to the legislature, and I look forward to a vibrant 55th.
Now, the outcome of the 2023 elections, especially from your district in Grand Cru, is an indication of your service, your stewardship during the first 6 years at the legislature. You were re-elected. In terms of governance of your district, what can you point to and say these are the reasons why my people re-elected?
I think there are certain things the constituents look for. Number one is consistent engagement with their lawmakers. When they are a very jealous set of people. When they call you, they want you to answer the phone. When they come see you, they want for you to accommodate them. When they are in need, they want for you to assist them. They want for you to stay in touch with that district. For those of us from rural districts, I'm not talking about those urban districts, but for those of us from rural districts, it's the personal touch. We were able to add certain things to that dynamic, including the construction of 6 schools, the construction of 27 hand pumps across the district, the renovation of 2 clinics, and other projects, scholarships, and what have you, in the district. I think that gave our people confidence enough to say we would like to see that lawmaker go back for a second time. And I must add, that unfortunately did not happen to most of my colleagues in the 54. Most of them did not return.
I know all lawmakers have one constitutional responsibility, and that is what we usually term as the 3 oversight function. But is it the same, practically, comparing lawmakers who represent government districts to those of you who come from districts afar? Is it the same? And if no, what are the major advantages or disadvantages of those who come from afar? Someone like you who come from afar as the Southeast.
Oh, I think the major advantage for my Monrovia County colleagues is they get to live and drive to work every day. They live in their constituency. For those of us to go back home, it's a chore. The Southeast roads are not particularly the best. And so when we go home, we go home. And when we are home, we have no distractions. When I'm in District Number 2, Grand Cru, I don't have distractions. Only the people business that matter. If I'm in Sastown, my constituency comes there. I go to other parts of the district to try to mingle and talk with them. And as I said, we give them that personal touch. And I think that's one of the major advantages of us.
Good. Okay, I'd like to stay with the district deputy.
Sure.
Success sometimes comes along with challenges. So you wouldn't be successful when you do not have challenges.
Sure.
So I'd like to know what are some of the challenges, if there is any, and you face during the time of the election?
During the elections?
Yes.
The elections occur during the rainy season. If you travel the Southeast during the rainy season, you will see that it is the most treacherous place to travel. I traveled with 27 cars for the elections. 6 came back by ship. I had to end up flying out of Grances to come back for the second round. So the roads were challenging. I'm one lawmaker who chose not to use the Ivory Coast route. It just didn't make sense to me that as a lawmaker from Liberia, that I will be using another country to come in my country. So we braved the storm on the Southeast roads. Okay, we experienced what our people experience. And then in the district itself, I'm very proud. My wife and I got on one motorcycle with one rider. We're going from place to place. Sometimes in the rain, we crossed rivers. We rode on rafts. We did everything we can to meet our constituents where they wanted to be. As I said, the constituents are very jealous. Some people will sit behind 5 rivers and say, you know what, we are not going to Honorable Koffa. he needs to come to us. And you have to cross those rivers to get to those places. My Judiciary district is extremely challenging. So what we were able to do, you know, in it all, we were able to reach the voters during the elections, left and right. And even the second round when we did our voter education, we repeated that and we went to them, and so the numbers showed.
Okay, you are less than a decade old in active in Liberian politics, but we are flying high. You've made a lot of interventions in the life of your people over the years, in the Southeast, generally and particularly in Grand Crew. There is this godfatherism syndrome that is going across Liberian politics. The question is, what does Fonati want?
No, so I'm not a godfather of anything or any place. What do I want? I entered this business with a genuine hope of public service. I gotta say to you, my own disappointment and my own frustration is what we sign up for is a lot of times not what we end up with, okay? Especially in this place, it involves a lot of compromises. It involves, like, I would have loved for us to do the Southeast roads during the first Weah administration. We took a gambit that there would have been a second administration, so we told our people to wait. That did not happen. We expect President Boyka, who is also president for all Liberia, okay, we took on that mantle. I'm hoping that we can drive on that road one of these days so he can see the need that this road doesn't only benefit the Southeast, it benefits the entire Liberia, because Ivory Coast is the fastest growing economy in West Africa. You trading with Ivory Coast increases our gross domestic product and our economic activity. So that road to the Southeast, which is substantially a large population, is something very critical and very important. And I think the president-elect will see it that way when he assumes office.
Okay, thank you. There's a sense in which democracy tends to demand public officials to account for their stewardship, especially in a case where they are serving or after the service, or maybe in a particular case where they want to elevate to another level. And we are particularly concerned about what was done during your stay at the legislature. Because I recall vividly, you first served as chairman on the House's Committee on Judiciary. We want to know what went on with the committee, what were some of the important advancements made before the plenary, and how did it impact the overall function of the legislature. Secondly, we want to know as to what was done by the office of the Deputy Speaker amidst the controversies at the House to ensure that most of these very toxic policies for which the legislature is blamed out there by the public are resolved and the legislature is rebranded to a very good extent. Let's hear what you have.
Okay, so first of all, as chairman on Judiciary, you are like the lawyer for your colleagues. One of the things we instituted very early when we came in is how we do our legislative committee reports when it comes to the issue of the Judiciary Committee. We wanted to make sure that committee, when we present reports to plenary, they have points of law, points of fact, and analysis on how the legislature should, how the House should review whatever instrument before it. The first thing. The second thing, we were successful in advancing a number of legislations. The first one, you know, was the Liberia Business Act, which was a concept that, look, President Weah came in and said, we don't want Liberians to be spectators in their own economy. We need to develop this economy in a way that Liberian businessmen participate and Liberian businessmen gain. The unfortunate part of that piece of legislation, it got boiled down in lobbying politics from a lot of foreign business people. So it got watered down a bit, but we're still on that trajectory. We also tackle domestic violence issues. We tackle FGM issues. Oftentimes when you are the lawyer for these members, and one or two members were keen to remind me sometimes and say, Honorable, this is not a house of law, this is a house of politics, right? So you are navigating between the politics and the law when it comes to dealing with issues, in advising your colleagues on what is the legal approach and allowing them to make their political decisions within the confines of the law. And I think that's the semblance we brought to it. When you are deputy speaker, you're actually playing second fiddle, okay? It is not your job to overshadow the speaker. You act in his stead, and oftentimes you will see my performance by how I presided when the speaker was not here, okay? I think a lot of people were able to distinguish my own performance, were able to review that performance, and some people came to respect that.
So follow up to that question, I was particularly concerned when you said the Liberia Business Act was brought down by lobbying. Who were the lobbyists and to whom were they?
Okay, so this is a nation of vested interest. It is clear that we have in our retail sector a lot of foreign businesses. And to have a piece of legislation that is skewed towards just Liberians was threatening. So one of the things that was done during the consultation process was to look at it in terms of you don't want to marginalize your foreign friends, okay? So how can this legislation, this piece of legislation, be advanced in a way that create a dual system or a system in which one merges into the other? As a result of that process where the foreign merchants were consulted, Liberian businesses were consulted, and others were consulted, there was a watered-down piece of legislation.
Okay, now let's transition from that. It is the public's to judge, but let's go to the 2023 general and presidential elections.
Sure.
I know you played a very pivotal role in that process within the Southeast, but we firstly are interested to know what were your general observations of the election, and in the aftermath of the entire process where one party won by a narrow percentage and was accepted by the president, what will you also say about where and how far our democracy has come?
Okay, so my general observation about the process was, it was elections. You know, people hype their candidates, people hype their thoughts, people hype their behavior. But remember, this is the first elections we've had with our foreign troops on the ground. This is the first elections we've had with our substantial international participation. This was an all-Liberian election. It turned out to be one of the most peaceful elections we've had. The Elections Commission did well. And the fact that a president can concede with just 28,000 votes, even before the final results by NEC, it was almost like America. Okay? So I think we built from that. Okay? We built from that concession. As I usually tell people, the time for politics is over, the time for governance has begun. You are correct. With 28% margin between two candidates, you almost say it was a draw game, but somebody got to carry it, maybe on penalty, right? So then we have a particular responsibility now to unify and reconcile this country. I think Madam Salif, after the war, did well in making sure the trains ran on time, in preserving the peace. I think President Weah solidified that peace. And I think it's incumbent upon President-elect Boyka, and looking at his continence and his record, there is no reason to believe that he will go anywhere else other than on the path of peace. And in developing a path of peace, in an era of a divided country, we have to reconcile and get a balanced government. And that's why the 55th looks to bridge that balance and become a body that will be able to work with the executive while maintaining its own independence.
Thank you. We'll just turn over to Obenjiba representing Harlem.
Good morning, Councilor Koffa.
Good morning.
Well, stay at the electoral process. You won and you're back, and opting to become Speaker. Two quick concerns. Most of the top officials in the CDC have been sanctioned. Would like to hear your initial reaction to that. And you've, of course, been accused of masterminding the defeat of the outgoing Speaker, Bofo Chambers. Can you also bring clarity on that, about his defeat? You've been directly alleged that you instigated whatsoever that led to his defeat, and you also supported the process at NEC so he cannot win the case. What can you exactly say to that?
Okay, on the question of...
No, sorry, Honorable Deputy Speaker. In the structure of our interview,
Oh, you want to answer the question? Okay.
Let's resolve the issue of the election. We want to be systematic, and so I'll take note of that. So at the end of the interview, we'll bring that for you to respond. We'd like to have your response.
Okay. I guess this is unprecedented in our democracy that prior to the announcement about the National Elections Commission, the president conceded defeat. I guess it might have sent some chills in the spines of you members of the CDC, especially from the high level, considering that some of your plans were hinged on a second term. What do you think could have been done differently that would have led to the re-election of the CDC?
Well, I'm not sure. You know, I have often pondered that question, and as yet, I don't have an answer. It is clear maybe we should have paid more attention to what people were saying. The president's agenda, in my view, was not so antithesis to the agenda of the people that warranted the kind of vote and a close election it was. Obviously, the people felt differently. And I think maybe a way to gauge the population, to gauge the Liberian people on what their actual thinking is, would be a mechanism that we are employed. But I was surprised, you're right. And it is what it is. You know, that's elections. Somebody wins, somebody loses. And I'm glad, you know, I remember, I don't like to repeat conversations I have with the president, they are generally private. But I remember about 3 years ago, the president and I sat down with one other member at his house, and we were talking about, there was some either coup or election violence somewhere, and we were debating that. And we were even talking about our own upcoming elections in 2023 and controversies that come from that. And the president made a profound statement. He said, nobody is going to fight war over my business. The day the Liberian people say they don't want me, I'll pack my things and I will leave. And that is exactly what he did. And so I was disappointed. I was not surprised. And I think he has set Liberia on a trajectory that it will be very difficult now for somebody to walk back the presidency. We have deconstructed in this country very successfully over the last 18, 20 years, the imperial presidency. It doesn't mean the presidency doesn't have power anymore. It does not have the kind of power it had before. And I am willing to bet, okay, on a President Boyka, he will further deconstruct the imperial presidency because he's a simple person, okay? All those trappings and all that power, you will see he will devolve them to some of where they need to be. And some people will be surprised also. But this is a great time to be in this Liberian democracy. So I think with all of that, that is what Liberia is about. We've won, we've lost, we are governing together.
Honorable Deputy Speaker, I want to pick up on your words used, deconstructing the imperial presidency. That would mean allowing other branches of government to have the powers that's really given them by the Constitution.
Sure.
Especially the legislature.
Sure.
Over the years, public perception of the legislature has been that the legislature is rubber-stamped, it dances to the whims and caprices of the presidency, and, I mean, negative connotations out there in the public. Let me ask you this question. Is the legislature Liberia's problem?
No.
That's the general perception.
No, the legislature is not Liberia's problem. The legislature may be part of the problem. But I can tell you this, we in the legislature, we heard the Liberian people. When you have, I think Honorable Snow said about 53 of our colleagues did not come back, that's an astounding number, okay? And my impression from the incoming 55th is these are people who are prepared and determined to work with the executive branch to carry on the president's agenda, but in an independent fashion and with vigorous oversight. If they do that, you will see government work, okay? And you will see that with the executive branch and the legislative branch working cooperatively, but independently of both branches, I think you see that we have taken one more step towards the advancement of this democracy.
So we go to Jerome Cameron.
Yes, okay, so I'd like to still be on the election campaign activities in the 2023 election. You were the grand crew, crying President Williams' cry, crying the CDC's cry, and crying your own cry. When you took up time to look at Facebook, listen to the radio, read newspapers. My question to you is, the activities that counter around our campaign in the just election, how do you grade those activities? Messaging. Do we need to improve, and where? As a national leader, a father, what were those things that you heard in the mouths of campaign spokesmen and the rural parties and the rural parties that you think we need to improve on?
Okay, so I think social media, you're right, social media has changed the dynamics in which and how we conduct elections, or how information is disseminated. That's the very first thing. No longer you have one conduit, which is the traditional press, disseminating information. And actually, both parties, all parties involved in the elections, took liberal use of the social media to propound their own messages. My own disappointment, and my own disappointment continues to be in you guys. Okay, as the traditional media, you know, someone told me I never went to journalism school, but they said one of the first things they teach in journalism is who, what, when, and how. I think you'll have a mantra. Nowadays, all somebody have to say is, Koffa raped somebody last night. And the first thing I get is, what is your comment to what that allegation? I'm running with my story. The person who made the allegation is not asked to verify this allegation. It's not asked for any other thing. It's not asked the who, why, when. They just have to make an allegation. And that has now become the mantra. People just choose now to just throw allegations out. And you guys bite on it. Oh, what? You don't ask, you don't query the person who's making the allegation. You query the person who is being alleged against. That, we heard information that you did X, Y, and Z. What is your comment? Someone called me on radio live. I forgot what the issue was now. Called me live on radio on an allegation of a rumor. I guess when I finish with his audience were mad. But I think there has to be some responsibility. And the local press, though, did very well, I must say, in disseminating the news and in controlling the balance of views. But I would say it would be good if we take it one step further. Because remember now, they call you the fourth estate. You are part and parcel of this democracy. Anything we do here in the 55th, or anything the executive branch does, you are the one ultimately who are going to tell the people what happened. We ask you and we beg you in this, our democracy, to step up your game.
So let me just follow up quickly.
Sure.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so I'm one person I'm a fan of peer review. And I also like people from other professionals, criticizing the media, assessing our activity, the job that we do. But I'd like to ask you this question, Deputy. Most of us, not me particularly, but me in the media, I sit on radio and use uncountable words to refer to respected police society. You got very good friends among you, the politicians. I will live on the radio and say, oh man, I enjoy you. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, but what do you expect, right? Our politics is a crab syndrome politics, where we haul each other down. That's what we do to each other. So if you went on the radio and you were unkind to me, other crabs will call you and congratulate you. That is unfortunate, but that's just the nature of the beast, of what we're in. That is what is despicable about the nature of what we are in. If it is not me, it must not be anybody. If Honorable Anders can make progress, or Honorable Briggs can do this, let no one be able to do it. And that's why people are encouraged to slander their colleagues, and people are encouraged to say damaging things about their colleagues. It's just the politics.
In your earlier reference to the media, you cited an isolated situation.
Don't get vexed now.
Seeing to cast aspersion on the entire media, which I thought not to ignore.
Okay.
But on several occasions, I think we've called out individuals whose actions were diametrically opposed to generally acceptable standards, and that has helped our democracy to a very great extent, and you just bragged about the progress we've made in our democracy. How do you reconcile the expression you just cast on the media versus the praise you give to our democracy?
No. So remember, my last comment was the local press did well in disseminating the news and the views. I'm not casting aspersions on you. I'm casting aspersion on the attitude where allegations are made, and without developing its foundation, it automatically gets pinned on a politician as an act that he has to defend. In the process, you have developed a system of guilty until proven innocent, and that's what I was talking about.
Okay. Now, we are at this point. Article 49 within the 1986 Constitution calls for the election of a speaker who shall have a 6-year tenure. And currently, the political tide at the capital is rising. From the look of things, the speaker election has been narrowed down fundamentally to 2 names. You and Richard Nangwe-Kun. And so, in the wake of the expressed desire to contest, the current speaker, a few days ago, talked to the radio and drove a wedge down your throat, accusing you of undermining or masterminding his defeat by going into his district and taking out people and supporting the one who has been declared the winner by the National Elections Commission. He went on to also accuse you of representing the corporate interests of the Mountain, Maritime, Freeport, and lots of other companies which could jeopardize your speaker position should you have the slightest chance to win the speakership. It appears as though there is an entrenched conflict, if I may be lack of a better word, between the both of you and the Liberian population currently grapples with the curiosity to have an understanding of what are the factors fueling the conflict. Okay,
so I have thought about that deeply. When I read that interview, the cruise out of me came out. And it's a good thing that comment was not made in Nukuta near Dixon Sibo's house, otherwise fighting was going to ensue. But I have had a few days and I've had the opportunity to listen to my colleagues. One of the things in leadership is listening and making tough decisions, even ones that you don't want to make. And based on that, I have referred to the CDC National Chair the complaint of the Speaker on his allegations against me. I have asked the CDC to please investigate between the two of us to the extent so that we come to a rational conclusion on the Speaker's allegations, to which there were not much specificity. Undermining, there were some statements made. I haven't been to Plebo since 2017. I was at NEC. I've been at NEC every day. I haven't been to NEC since 2019 when the Sam Joe and Jerome Kokoya administration left. Those are my friends. I used to go there most times to see them. I haven't been there. We did our certification at Ministerial Complex. We did our registration at the sports complex. So I've had no reason to go to NEC, and I haven't gone to NEC now. There are 2 sets of leaders. There's President Weah, who concedes graciously to preserve the democracy. And then there's Hitler, who even after masterminding a world war, in the end, first he blamed his ministers, then he blamed his generals, then he blamed the German people. So defeat can be very traumatic. I'm not going to come here now and jump down the Speaker so me and he can be in war of words, right? If I do that, the Speaker will not benefit, I will not benefit, but the people who don't want me to be Speaker will benefit. So I'm not going to give credence to that. I have lodged that complaint with the party, and I will leave it at that. But the thing that is important that you raised is the conflict of interest issue, because it goes into the 55th in my leadership. There's not a day I have gone to the Speaker, that I have gone to any colleague or that have gone on the floor to represent any interest other than the interest of Grand Group. I have not represented as a lawyer any company in this building. In instances, and there were two, B Mountain being one, where a lawyer does represent B Mountain at my firm. When their issue came up, I did not attend session. I was simply not there. If you look at Rule 45 of our rules, it calls for us to step aside when these conflicts exist. I have never, so I don't know where that came from, never one day stood as a lawyer for any interest here. Hasn't happened. Never. I don't know where it came from.
And so, aside from that, do you in any way represent the interests of Maritime, ArcelorMittal, NPA,
HPX, NASCO,
HPX,
LPRC,
all of the institutions named by the Speaker of the House of Representatives?
If I represented these institutions, I will retire because I'll be very rich. The answer is no. Let me give you my history of practice law here. The International Law Group was founded in 2002. I went to the States. I resumed active practice in 2009 at the International Law Group. The concept was, okay, you have all these good lawyers representing all these great corporations. It's about time government parastaticals, okay, had good lawyers too. So I started to build a practice around representing government institutions, Maritime, CBL, and others. In 2016, Madam Sharif appointed me as Minister of State. I immediately resigned as managing partner of the International Law Group. I gave my shares in trust to one of my partners. Okay? Since then, I have not been in the active practice of law. I don't have clients. So if I left the firm and they had maybe Maritime and others, they would have continued. But when I checked with the firm recently, they no longer represent Maritime. They no longer represent any of the institutions the speaker talked about, with the exception in labor cases at the CBL and LPRC. They have never represented NASCO. We have never represented ArcelorMittal. We have never represented HPX. We have never represented NPA. We have never represented the panoply of institutions that have been alleged to have represented.
Could we stand on your information to say that the speaker falsified?
I don't know what the speaker did, but I will ask you to do one thing as a journalist. Go to those institutions and ask them, you know, do you have a retainer with the International Law Group? If you do not, did you ever? And if you did, when did that retainer end? I think that's part of your homework. I'm not going to tell the speaker he falsified information. I'm going to tell you it's not true. We've never represented NASCO. Okay? And certainly we never represented HPX or ArcelorMittal. It's simply not true. Okay? I'm not willing to say he falsified or what he did. Again, I understand defeat can be very traumatic. I empathize with the speaker. I understand what he's going through. The need to blame somebody is fine. And I wholeheartedly would love to take the blame of the speaker. But I cannot, in taking his blame, okay, allow him to tarnish my reputation. That's the only reason why I will even answer that. Otherwise, you know, the speaker has been making these allegations since November. I have never responded to them. Okay? But when it comes to the issue of what lies ahead, will these institutions somehow have a play before the legislature favorably because I represent them? Never have I. Never. One day came to my colleagues and said, I represent this thing and I want this to happen, or on the floor or before the speaker. I can remember only one incident. We were on the floor, Firestone was there, and I was advising the speaker on procedural matters. And the speaker asked me, do you represent Firestone? And we both laughed. I said, no, Mr. Speaker, I don't represent them. And I've never represented Firestone. That was the only conversation we've ever had in that regard. So, no, I don't represent them. I don't know where the speaker got his information from. He's an honorable gentleman, so I will only say he was misinformed.
Okay, we make progress to the speakership election. Mm-hmm. Why does Fonati want to be speaker?
in life we progress, right? We came to this institution, we came with a school of ladies and gentlemen. We worked for 6 years together. I think we've built a relationship, and they have invested in me in the confidence of leadership for the 55th. It is on that basis that we are seeking the speakership, and I'm proud to say they have been joined by new members of the 55th to form a majority bloc that will produce the Speaker of the 55th Legislature.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, the Deputy Speaker rule is not like the vice presidential rule. I know the President-elect Boyka, made this statement that has become very popular, race car park. I'm not too sure the Deputy Speaker rule, comparatively, is the same as the Vice President rule, where you basically just looking for instructions. I'm sure the Deputy Speaker has got some basic functions as per the rules of the House. What can we say about your time as Deputy Speaker? How you carried out these functions? Why should your colleagues in the 55th Legislature trust you with the bigger position of the Speaker?
You're wrong. You're wrong in the sense that you said the Deputy Speaker is not like the Vice President. The Deputy Speaker is exactly like the Vice President. Yes, it's exactly like the Vice President. The Deputy Speaker only acts when the Speaker is absent. Okay? The reason why everybody says Deputy Speaker, Deputy Speaker, Deputy Speaker, because we were able to carve a certain prestige in the office of the Deputy Speaker during our time there, by our international engagements, by our national engagements, by the work we do in our constituents, and we highlight the role we play. Okay, that's how you saw it. But the Deputy Speaker is exactly like the Vice President.
Yes, Honorable Koffa, I'd like to know about your opponent, Honorable Richard Cohn. Is it up to the tax? Is the process competitive? What is his weakness or strength when it comes to the speakership election?
I know Richard Cohn to be a very fine gentleman. Other than that, I think you should ask Richard Cohn.
Okay, you are going for this speakership position, and there is this politics of the winner takes all. How do you navigate with the politics of the winner takes all?
Okay, that's a good question. But we're not in a winner take all environment, right? In 2017, President Weah won 14 out of 15 counties, right? In 2023, President Weah won 8 of the 15 counties, right? So we are not in a winner-take-all situation, and we are in a, I think, 1% or less, 1% margin of victory by the winning party. And I think all sides have observed, seasoned politicians have observed, that we are not in a winner-take-all situation, and a balanced government is what will serve the Liberian people. That's what they voted for. I think President Boyka is prepared for that. He's a reconciler and a healer. I don't think he is in the winner-take-all mode. I certainly have not gotten that signal from him. I have not gotten that signal from those close to him. But we will continue to observe.
Okay, thank you. Before we just take... Okay.
So, to ask a question, Deputy, as somebody who has been around the legislature for a number of years, I'd like to correct certain things first before I ask my question.
Please correct.
On this winner-take-all thing, it is not true. In 2006, Mr. Sally was president. The president pro tem was asking him about NDPL. When he left, Abba Lassana was the Liberty Party became acting president pro tempore. When he left Government People Wallace became president pro tempore, Ellen was still president in the nation. When he left Bassel Wafene, independent candidate became president pro tempore. When he left NPP, Amazulu Jara became president pro tempore. Ellen was still president. So that dispels the cliché of winner-take-all. In a house, in 2006, when Mr. Sally became president, Snow became speaker, and an NPP man who contested as an independent candidate and won. When Snow left, Talon was elected as a member of the Liberal Action Party. He was never a Unity Party man. He only became a Unity Party man in 2009 as a result of the merger between Action Party, Loop, and the original Unity Party. So that cliche got no ground. Now my question. They say you are a politician sans frontières. may without border or across border. How has that actually helped you in your political sojourn, and how well do you count on it for your future endeavors?
Okay, so thanks for the history lesson, because, you know, people always try to, for their own purposes, confuse issues. I learned very, very early on in my political career, I forgot which book I read, it said, politics is the art of compromise. Okay? There is no way that I know everything or should have everything. And therefore, I have learned over my political life to reach across. I was the chairman of the Liberty Party when Ellen Salif, because of our relationship, appointed me as Minister of State and entrusted me with a very important task. Okay? So it has not always been about absolute positions. For me, it's always been if we can find a compromise, because that's governance. In dictatorship, you get what you want, you do what you want. In politics, you compromise. And it is in that compromise and reaching out to the other side, I think that have been one of my strong suits that my colleagues have recognized.
Okay, again, this program is being carried live by Joy 101.5 FM, ABC Radio 105.7, Prime FM 105.5, Hot FM 107.9, Voice of Liberia 104.1, and OKFM 99.5. I also don't want to forget about Bana FM. Bana FM is also carrying this live as well, and it's being streamed live by online platforms, KMTV, Vision TV, Front Page Africa, Golden TV, Freedom TV, Spoon TV, and Joy TV Liberia. Before we just move forward, I think we have to afford the listening audience the opportunity to share their thoughts with us, having listened to what we have been discussing. So the numbers are 0770-907-907, 0880-907-907. Be precise and straight to the point. Martina, are you there? Good morning. So please take our calls. 0770-9. Yeah. So 907-907, 080 for Lone Star subscribers, 907-907 are the call lines. Do we have a call? Martina, are you there? Yeah. Good morning. So please take our calls. 0770-9. Yeah. So and so 907-907, 080 for Lone Star subscribers, 907-907 are the call lines. Do we have a call? Are you there? So please take our calls. 0770. So yeah. So and so 907-907, 080 for Lone Star subscribers, 907-907. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, caller.